All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the SoulCast, episode 7. We are back yet again after a little bit of a hiatus, but don't expect too much delay between episodes for about the next month, because we have our guest on today, and then we just had UFGT this past weekend. Northwest Majors is next weekend, and the weekend after that we have MLG and East Coast Throwdown, and then CEO after that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we actually get some double episodes in for these coming weeks with so many tournaments going down. But with that out of the way, and a little bit of future little crystal ball there. I am Scott, aka Zhang, as usual on your boards. Unfortunately, my co-host again is out this episode, although this one was a little unplanned. He had a little bit of a burglary incident at his home, so he's trying to figure all that out. So hopefully he'll be back on our next podcast, but I wish him the best, and I'm sure everyone can understand he's kind of dealing with that stuff and getting everything organized. So yeah, just me today, but got a big guest again, along with our Evo Road to Evo coverage. We want to make sure that we get as many of the top placers in these tournaments on the SoulCast as we possibly can, so you guys can hear their voice, hear their opinions, and if you have any questions, absolutely PM me or post on the boards, and I'll try to get out to them. But without further ado, let me introduce. I think this is our first international guest on the technically international guest on our podcast here. Partisan, how's it going, dude?
Pretty good.
Okay, so did I pronounce that all right, or do you pronounce it like Partisan or something like that?
No, just Partisan.
Partisan,
yeah,
okay. Some people are kind of crazy with their pronunciation.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I've heard a few different ones.
Yeah, so technically you're international, but Toronto's right there on the border.
Yeah, right at the border, basically.
So you're a stone's throw away from New York, so not too far away, but still, I think we're going to try. I know on the Tekken one, I've had a few European players on, so we like to get as many different people and regions on as we possibly can. So I kind of just to start up, I believe you're from Toronto, right? That's where you live.
I'm actually from London, which is a city 2 hours away from Toronto.
Oh, okay. So is it a big city, or is it just like a little town, or?
It's kind of somewhere in between. It's like a big enough city that there's stuff going on, but it's no Toronto by any means at all.
Okay. Well, I believe Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So I imagine it probably takes a little bit to kind of rival them.
To get to that level, yeah.
Well, I definitely feel you on that. I live in a city that's about 250,000 strong, so not really all that big, but at the same time not very small. So, So have you always lived in? Are you true Canadian? Always been there, born, raised, or did you? Nice. So, kind of like with all our guests, I always like to open with this. Kind of give us a little bit of background, like what sorts of scenes did you start in? Were you always a Caliber player, or maybe we've had people in the past who've started out with like Street Fighter and kind of branched over to the 3D fighters. So, kind of give us a background on where you went, and of course the big question, how did you land on regular Patroclus?
Okay. Well, my fighting game history is really not that long. I started back, I think 2008, I want to say, playing Soul Calibur 4, and that was pretty much the only fighting game I've actually played seriously. So I picked it up, and in, I think, August, I decided to go buy a game one day, saw a used copy of Soul Calibur 4, remembered that I played Soul Calibur 2 back in the day. I was like, hey, that's a game I like, so I picked that up, and then, I just I found 8-Way Run, and then started to practice, and here I am today.
Nice. So you'll have to forgive my ignorance a little bit, because I'm trying to keep up and trying to learn everybody's history as I go, since I haven't been really big in the Caliber scene since back in Caliber 2, which you just mentioned. But is this your first major win, or have you been bouncing around and?
Majors, yes. I did, at the end of SC4, I did place at NEC getting 4th, which is probably tied for accomplishments as far as me playing this game goes. Just because Toriken, well, it wasn't major, it didn't have the level of competition that did.
Gotcha.
So, But yeah, so those are probably the big two. In the Toronto scene, I've won the past 3 tournaments. That's my phone going off. Excuse that.
I'll say if you got to answer it, that's cool. We can.
No, that's fine. But yeah. So kind of thrown off by that. Yeah. So Toriken, and the past 2, I guess locals or monthlies you can call it, I've won. So we had the first tournament in Toronto that I placed like 7th in, and that was like week 1. And then after that, I've been winning them consistently. But there was one I didn't go to, and that one was won by Pyro Zamfir. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the person who placed,
Man, you're a popular dude right now.
yeah, apparently placed 2nd at Toriken.
Okay, so cool. So you kind of got that big, and I did catch the stream, not the live stream, but went back and watched the stream.
Oh, the archive,
yeah, and I saw the finals. So you mentioned Soul Calibur 4. So Patroclus, he's new to Soul Calibur 5. So what made you decide to pick him?
Well, for those who do know, I played Cassandra as my main in Soul Calibur 4, right? And I like to think of her as kind of like that rush down style. We're able to get in there, run kind of not the strongest mix-up game, but enough to make people guess at times. So, and when I saw Patroclus in 5, he seemed to have that same kind of thing to him. Except, I think he's a more extreme version of that whole mix-up game. Obviously, the plus lows, the kind of 50-50 range game, if you will. But yeah, kind of that same aggressive style carried over, and that kind of appealed to me. But he isn't the only character I play.
But I take it he's pretty much a go-to through tournaments.
He started off being that, but as of late, I've been playing Pure Omega as my main. So, and you saw a bit of her in the finals too.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, that would explain it. So, so are you just kind of up in the air between those two, or do you think that maybe you're going to settle on Omega when all is said and done?
When I started, there were things about both characters that I really like. Like Patroclus, he is that really aggressive kind of mix-up game, whereas Pure Omega, like she has that to a degree, but she has more versatile options, I think, in my opinion, or things that appeal to me rather. So it's kind of a toss-up. I really like using both, but right now I like Pure Omega more, just for a few weird reasons, really. But
well, I imagine the stab. I mean, she still has
stabs are good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
The punishment game, that was something I really established in Soul Calibur 4. That was like the biggest thing that my game was based around early on. So kind of staying faithful to that. Kind of she really complements that. So that's probably where that comes from.
Nice. So, so I actually have a couple of questions about Toriken.
Sure.
Because it's a Toronto major, and I believe it's the only Evo qualifier that is not in the States. And as sad as it is, I've actually never been to Canada, and I'm actually not all that far. And I have a bunch of buddies who live in Minnesota, so I know Toronto's it's on the eastern border, so it's a little bit of ways. But you'd think I'd have made it up to Canada at some point, but alas, I haven't. So kind of, and I'm sure most of the U.S. players that are going to be listening to this podcast probably haven't made it up to Canada. So you mentioned NEC, so I know that you've been to the States.
Yeah.
So are there any major like differences in let's say atmosphere between I guess like venue would be the best way to phrase the question. Like are there any major differences between like a Canadian major and a US major?
Well, Toriken was probably like the first actual major I've been to. And right off the start, I can say that compared to U.S. events, venue size is probably one of the bigger things, definitely. Toriken, well, the venue was it was really good. It was a step higher than what I'm used to for our previous events. Like, we've had a few, I'm not really sure if you'd consider them majors, but bigger events anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the U.S. events are, the scale is just bigger. I guess it makes sense because there are more people coming in, more expected, mm-hmm. So... Yeah, but things are really building, so I'm glad to see that Toriken's going in that direction, or went in that direction, and the rest of the events will probably follow.
Nice. So, how many people, if you happen to know this, what was the total? Not necessarily just caliber, but in total, what was the attendance like for?
Um, I want to say somewhere like 150 plus. I'm really not sure, but that's the number that's floating around in my head. I saw it somewhere, but I'm not sure where that number exactly came from, or if it was people actually competing games or spectators also, or what. But probably more than that because the place was pretty packed.
Ah, nice. Well, I noticed that there were some. I mean, there were some pretty big names there. I saw Justin Wong
Oh yeah, definitely.
made it out. So it depends on where you're going in the country, but sometimes just having a player like that can bring a lot more people
Oh
out.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I was a little curious to see how many people made it out to that. So I guess let's focus a little bit on the caliber tournament. So a couple questions. One, obviously you won the tournament. I I wasn't paying attention too much, but you didn't take a loss at all, right? You were in winners the entire time.
Yeah, I did get reset in grand finals,
Mhm.
but yeah. Besides that, I didn't lose.
Okay, so aside from that, obviously you did pretty well. So two questions to go along with that. One, do you feel like you played to your potential? I mean, even though you can win a tournament,
Mhm.
sometimes people like, I have things to work on. I didn't play nearly as well as I could have played. So I mean, how do you gauge your success based on the matches that you did play? Because I
Well,
mean, you already mentioned, you got reset in the finals, so
mhm.
you're not invincible, not
Yeah, well,
yet.
it wasn't the
So,
cleanest victory. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I really wasn't like right after I finished and the whole thing and I won it. Uh, I wasn't feeling the greatest about the win. Even though you won a major, I still didn't feel like it was convincing enough that like I would have won regardless. And
Mhm.
then that kind of thing doesn't sit well with me because I like winning. Obviously, everybody does.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
uh, I know Alex Pyro also felt that he didn't play the best. So like we were both kind of talking about that afterwards, and we feel we could have played better. But I think we're like kind of tournament nerves played a
mhm,
factor. A few other things. Like I didn't play Pyro Mega. I kind of took a little break from playing her for a bit. I wanted to play Pad a little bit more.
mhm.
So I was kind of rusty with some of the inputs there. But overall, yeah, I think I could have played much better. And right now, it just acts as motivation to practice further and get even better to prepare for Evo. So,
Gotcha. So you will be making it out to Evo for
oh
sure.
yes, definitely.
Okay, perfect. And then you mentioned pad. So are the way that you just phrased your statement there, it sounds like you play both pad and stick. Is that because you said you
Oh no,
switched over?
Pat Patroclus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my
Sorry,
mistake. Yeah.
that was a little confusing. I was like, "Whoa, he bounces back and forth. That's crazy." Okay, so okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Funny
So,
story about that though is I just started playing stick, so or picking it up
uh,
just kind of for a fun thing to do. So,
I actually I got really well semi lucky, I should say, at UFGT because it was on Xbox,
all right.
and I'm a pad player, so don't play on Xbox pads. So I brought a stick with me, and I was fully prepared to play on this piece of garbage. And then I luckily knew somebody there who had a controller and a converter, so I didn't have to do that. But like my warm up matches were all on this stick, and I was ready to. I had my salt shaker in my pocket, ready to just throw it all over the place when I lost because of it. But luckily, it didn't come to that. So okay, great. So we got some of that your own skill gauge there. I am curious. What was your opinion of the players that did show up? So like. I guess this is like the portion where I'm kind of asking you to name drop a little bit.
Yeah.
Like what did you see out there that I guess impressed you a little bit. Like I said or mentioned earlier, Justin Wong was there. I
Mhm.
didn't realize he played Caliber, but
Yeah.
I guess he does. So
Mhm.
that was very interesting to me to see that little bit of a development. But I mean, you were there, you were playing people, so kind of maybe fill us in on some players that no one else knows or hasn't seen very often,
Okay.
and kind of fill us in.
Well, first off, I should start off with Pyro. Placed second there. Very, very strong player. Definitely gave me a run for my money there. Wasn't really expecting it to be that hard, like being honest, but yeah, he's a very solid player, and I expect great things from him in the future. So that's one for sure. Pyro Zamfir. or Pyro Scrub as he entered the tournament.
Yeah, that I was wondering when you said that earlier. I was like, I'm pretty sure it said Pyro Scrub when I
Yeah.
was looking at it.
Yeah, he seems to enter the tournaments as that, but his forum name is Pyro Zamfir. Again, not sure with the pronunciation, but I'm sure you
Oh
can.
wow.
Yeah. But yeah, besides him, Oofmatic, there's a name everybody knows. Yeah, he's playing Dampierre, so that's always fun and interesting to watch.
Goofy ass character.
Oh yeah,
Character's
sure.
so weird.
Yeah, if you watch the earlier matches in the stream, character ignorance against him is not a fun thing to have to run into in a tournament.
Mm.
Probably very frustrating, and yeah, it's kind of ugly when you saw him playing some of the non traditional Soul Calibur players by the looks of it.
So just those two? Those are the only two noteworthy?
Well, besides that, like the local community is like they've been improving. We had some of the Buffalo guys come out. There's a Hilda player who placed fourth, who was pretty impressive. Valet, I think it's pronounced. He ended up beating Justin for the fourth place. He lost to Ufmatic. But yeah, he had some pretty solid stuff there. Looking forward to seeing how he does in the future. Besides him, Eli123S. He's been playing since 4 as well. He's an Ivy main. Played a little bit of Pyrrha as well. He's getting better too. I saw him picking up on some Just Guard stuff there, so that was great too. There was a what was his name? A guy I haven't heard of before by the tag of 000, I believe. I saw some pretty solid stuff from him. He's a Cervantes player, and yeah, he was doing some. Yeah, for a guy I've never heard of, he's pretty solid. So it's always nice having that mystery competition come out and show that they know how to play.
Yeah, absolutely. The online heroes.
Oh yeah,
practicing up online. One thing I wanted to ask about, not to kind of beat the hell out of the Justin Wong topic or anything, but he posted up something on the thread that I'm curious if you ran into this, but let me find this post because I thought it was really goofy. Somebody like crushed their controller or something after.
Oh right, yeah. I
here it is. I also don't think people like losing to me. I guess it was a Twitter thing he posted on Twitter. And then he said, this guy threw his controller and punched a hole in the wall after I beat him, and now he's banned. Okay, so who is that guy? I need to know about that.
I don't know if I want to name names here just for the...
Is he a local player that did that?
He isn't a local. He does come out to our tournaments. I don't think I want to say any more than that just to... kind of protect his identity here, but people will, or I think people already know this, so just by hearing this, they'll already be familiar, or they can ask me. But yeah, the kind of the thing that happened was he lost to Justin 2-0 in the tournament, as far as I know. Did something to the stick. I wasn't looking at the time. I heard it, so I kind of turned my head afterwards, and then a chair was thrown or something.
He went Bobby Knight
into the wall. There was a hole, so there's some venue damage right there. Some glasses of water were spilled all over the place, and yeah, that's kind of how that went down. But
so it was just some super salt.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's certainly not the first time.
Oh
yeah,
it happened.
I just yeah, I just thought it was really funny because usually the people, whenever stuff like that happens, it's it's real quick and people are over like, oh, that person's really salty. But like, I just thought it was weird that Justin thought it was significant enough to Twitter about it.
Yeah, it was quite the demonstration there.
I guess. Okay, let's see. I think I'm running out of questions about Tourouken specifically. So before I move on to kind of more broad general questions,
okay.
Any other like noteworthy things about Tourouken or maybe things that you want to comment on before, I don't know, maybe about the venue or organizers or something?
Well, I guess I could just give a quick shout out to first off Neo Russell. He put a lot of it together. I know probably the rest of the Toronto top tiers guys. And for those who don't know, that's pretty much the people who run all of our fighting game stuff up here. So shout outs to them for putting the whole thing together. The venue was really great. The whole event was awesome, really. So that was good. Barry was our brackets organizer, so shout outs to him. great job. A lot of the matches were done on time, so yeah, we didn't.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of waiting. Justin had to run around a lot, so that was probably where a lot of that had to go. But
Oh my god,
yeah,
fucking! I hate those people have to enter every
yeah.
tournament.
So that caused a little bit of waiting. That the match that caused some holes in the wall and some venue damage could have been streamed, but yeah, Justin had to run around and play other games. So close,
Oh
yet
man,
so far.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. So we'll kind of put a cap on Torukin then. And with that, I'll kind of use that as a springboard into more topics. So, at the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned we have three Evo majors still yet to happen,
Mhm.
and then one that just ended today,
Yeah.
actually, earlier today. And then we have another MLG event here in June. So, a few questions with that. Are First, just out of curiosity, are you involved in any of the MLG stuff? Are you going to go to Anaheim or anything like that?
I would have liked to, but I started working full time in about February, so my vacation time has been very limited. So I had to basically commit to just going to Evo. So no
Gotcha.
MLG for me yet. Hopefully
Well, hey,
they.
at least you get to use your Evo points.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, that's always nice.
absolutely. Okay, so no MLG. So then let's talk about the Evo stuff. So first, based on what you've seen so far, I guess what are you expecting when you get to Evo? Like, what things are you looking for? Since about half the Evo qualifiers are done
Mhm.
at this point, so are you? Obviously you're going to be practicing, but are there any like particular killers out there that you're really worried about? That maybe you're focusing on more than others?
I wouldn't say like any in particular. Like I do play a lot of the top players online, which can be good or bad depending on the day PSN is being used by me. Today is one of those days where it's not happening at all. But yeah, not too many in particular. I'd say the ones that I haven't played before. Like in Soul Calibur 4, I've ended up basically playing almost everybody. There's a few people on the West Coast that I didn't get around to playing, and that's because um, a lot of them couldn't make it out to East Coast events, and I can't make it out to West Coast events. So it's just a matter of traveling stuff. But yeah, no one really in particular. But I'm not just saying like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about them. But just I'm gonna be prepared as far as
Okay,
matchup knowledge and all that goes.
gotcha. So no one worries you more than anyone else. They're just all worrisome.
Yeah, more or less. That's a good
Gotcha.
way to put it.
So okay, so since you kind of just no real specific focus points for you then. For the what are you most interested in seeing in June? Like with the majors that are coming out, like what do you expect to happen? And are there any maybe big names that you think are gonna make a splash that maybe nobody has heard of, or maybe that we have heard of them, but they just haven't gotten over that hump yet? Because I mean, June's a really big month for
Oh,
Evo
definitely.
and for all these majors. So I'm kind of curious, like, well, what you expect to see and what you kind of uh, predict, I guess.
Well, Anaheim first off is going to be very interesting to watch, just because it's going to be one of the first times that East Coast and West Coast really go at each other in this game. So that alone is going to be very interesting to see. I know Ramon from East Coast is going. I'm not too sure everybody who's going to be attending from the East Coast, but I do know that a lot of people have intentions to go. So and I know they're planning maybe a 5-on-5 or something like that as well. So that'll be kind of hype too.
That would definitely be interesting.
Oh yeah.
I had not heard of that. So
Yeah,
that
it's
that'd be cool.
people talking on Facebook about it or something. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'm not sure if any of the France players that we haven't seen are going to be showing up. I'd like to see that, but I don't know if they're going to be able to make that and Evo, because I know a lot of them are planning for that as well. But
Yeah, that's definitely a tough thing to swing
oh yeah,
to those
definitely.
trips in subsequent months. So
Like I know
halfway across the world.
Kiev is going to be there, and so is Kayane. I believe she's in the States for the next few months, actually. So yeah, they'll be there still. And yeah, a few people who haven't really had a chance to play in tournaments on like the bigger scale, like an MLG scale, yeah, will be there too. So I'm interested to see how they do. A few specific names: Heaton, a guy I play with online quite a bit. He's from Seattle.
Mhm.
Actually, he's not even going. I don't know why I mentioned him, but he might be going to Evo, so I'll bring that up.
Well, I would imagine if he's in Seattle that he's probably going to the Northwest
Yeah,
majors because
I do
that's in
believe.
Seattle.
Yeah, I do believe he's going to be making that out. So he's a name to watch out for that if he is in fact going. If he's going to be listening to this, he better be going. So yeah,
Yeah, don't pull a Chicago and
don't
not
show
go
up in
to
your own
your home
backyard. Yeah,
to your fucking majors. Oh god. I mean, at least there were a couple of Chicago players there, but like Damien wasn't at
yeah,
UFGT. I know we talked about it earlier. Hawkeye, I think he had some scheduling issues, so
yeah.
he actually did go, but he didn't play in the tournament.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, go to your own tournaments.
Yeah, you definitely got
That
to support your local scenes. It only helps things in the grand scheme of the game's life, really. So get out there and play.
absolutely. So was Torukin your last major before UFGT, or are you going to try to make it out to like ECT or
Um,
CEO?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'm going to be able to make any of the other ones. I guess we'll see as time goes on. I still think like there's a bit more than a month till Evo, I guess. So
Mhm.
we'll see how that goes. There is another tournament in Canada actually next weekend, which is MAT Montreal Annual Tournament. I think it stands for. So that one's another Canadian Evo major. So that'll be interesting.
That's even farther east
Yeah,
than you
it's
guys.
yeah, it's a bit north as well. So
Yeah. So, well, I guess any of the East Coast guys, any of the New York players, or anybody who can't get out to MLG or anything, there's another option for you.
yeah, for sure.
Head up
I
there.
do think that they recently had to close the registration. The venue apparently is smallish, so they were
Oh,
limiting
maxed out.
people. So yeah, I do think they're going to be having at the door stuff, but it's going to be pretty tight, I'd imagine at this point. So we'll see how that.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because Evo's having kind of the same
Oh
problems right
yeah,
now.
yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, I mean they're getting really, really close to capacity if they haven't already gotten there since the last time I checked. And I actually made this a prediction not too long ago. I expect in within the next 5 years, expect Evo to not be an open tournament anymore. I mean
Hmm.
they're getting too many people.
Oh yeah, it's growing
I mean, it's
crazy.
just ridiculous. And I mean, from what I hear, okay, so last year I don't know the total like attendance numbers, grand total, but I know like Street Fighter had like 3,000 players entries into it. So and that's just
Yeah,
one
it's
game.
yeah, it's pretty
So
crazy.
and according to Mr. Wizard, they've already eclipsed that in
Wow.
their last year's totals. And based on what he said, I mean, it sounded like they blew it out of the water. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get really close to doubling those numbers. So if you're gonna get out to Evo and you haven't already been there, for those listening, I would definitely try to go this year or sometime soon because I mean the caps. I don't see how they can keep doing that. I mean, even in
Yeah.
Vegas, this year they're doing it at Caesar's Palace. Last year they did it at the Rio, but I mean those ballrooms are gigantic, and if they're filling those up, I mean,
There's only so much more you can do it after that.
yeah, I
So
mean, so yeah, I would highly advise if you haven't already gone to an Evo or been there to get that under your belt soon because you might only be going as a spectator next time. So definitely something to watch out for. Okay, so we got MAT for
yep.
those who need to know, and then you said you are or are not going to that, or is that just a shout out?
Um.
For that?
Like I am registered for it, but I still have to make travel arrangements. It's about like from Toronto. I think it's about 6 hours away. But of course, I'm not in Toronto. I'm 2 hours away, so that's another 2 hours of traveling for me. And I have to go from Toronto to that place because I got to meet up with my locals first before going there. So we'll see. I put in the vacation request last week. I haven't heard back yet. So if that works out, I'll be going. Otherwise, I guess someone else will be the favorite to get those evil points.
I guess. So out of curiosity, just again my ignorance showing here. Do you guys usually like carpool? Do you have a good highway system, or do you guys usually like take a train or something like that?
Usually when we travel anywhere, it's been like when we have traveled anywhere, it's been Megabus is the thing we usually use, and it's a really
We
cheap.
have it here.
Yep, it's a very cheap option, so of course we're gonna go with that. But yeah, I've only really been to Philly in the States, and once to Massachusetts. So
I'm sorry.
um, hmm?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. I was just
uh,
apologizing that you had to go to Philadelphia.
oh, okay.
Sorry for Philadelphia people, but I'm not a fan of that city. I'm just not. Most of the places I go, they're super rad. I love Vegas. I love L.A. isn't too bad. I'm not a fan of the city, but every time I go, like we're always in like a really good part of L.A.
Yeah.
Chicago's nice. Not a huge fan of New York either, but hate to put people's cities on blast, but clean those cities up. So nasty. Anyway, uh, so okay, so you've only been to Philly, so you usually use the megabus to
Yep.
get out there. Do you take the megabus to Philly? Is
Yep.
that how?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't even know it went across the border.
Yeah, it
That's
goes
crazy.
from Toronto. There's usually a that's like I think like the only connection really that'll go um to that area, I guess. I think like the Montreal, because it's more up north, will connect with Toronto, and then Toronto connects with I think a few cities in like Detroit, or no, not Detroit isn't a state. Forgive my ignorance on American
Michigan.
geography.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I can't even think of the state, but whatever.
Michigan, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's the one. There's that, and of course New York State, and then that'll connect with a few cities. I think Syracuse, New York City, and of course directly to Philadelphia. So yeah.
So yeah, that sucks. Because I've been on buses before, and they may be cheap, but they're not
Oh
really all
yeah.
that fun. To
Yeah,
be
it's not.
honest.
It can be a pain to ride on them, but once you do the trip, like once, or you're used to driving around all the time, it really isn't that bad. But it's still kind of obnoxious sitting on a bus for 10 hours.
Yeah. Now I presume you're flying to Evo.
Oh yes.
That you're
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not doing that trip on ground.
Yeah. Well, I've at least most people that I've talked to have done at least one crazy road trip.
Oh yeah.
And I've driven out to LA before, which from where I am, it's supposed to be like a 25, 26 hour drive.
Yeah.
We made it in under 24, but
Okay, that's good.
well, I guess 23 hours
Yeah.
is all that much better than 25, but it's it sucks. So,
Yeah.
but everybody does it once. So one thing, speaking of like the distances and everything, because you mentioned this earlier, you were talking about some of the foreign players. You mentioned the French players.
Yeah.
Are there any others that you encounter? I don't want to say on a regular basis, because I have a feeling a lot of us here on the western side of the Atlantic don't see them very often.
Yeah.
But are there any other players, like maybe Spanish players? I know like on the front page of 8-Way Run,
Yeah.
D or Di, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce
Mhm.
it, but he's been doing his interviews
Yeah.
with a lot of the European players. So are there any other ones that you maybe keep in touch with or get matches with in?
I haven't actually played too many matches with some of the Europe guys, but I have from time to time I do go chat with the French guys. They have a chat room like 8-Way Run does, so I'll try and make some very awkward conversation in there from time to time.
I take it you speak a little bit of French then?
Very very little, but a lot of them can speak very basic English, so
See, that's
more or less get some conversation going, which is always nice.
that's a little surprising to me, because I thought isn't French the national language for Canada?
It is, yeah. It's like you learn it, and it's kind of mandatory for a few years, like up until I think grade 9,
Oh,
and then you can kind of continue with it or not continue with it. But thing is, I used to live out west, and it's not like the more west you go, the less French is really important. So
gotcha.
yeah, you really don't get the full. I guess you don't learn it as well out there as you do out here. So by the time I got it here, I was way lost. when I had to pick it up in I think like way back in like grade 8 or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's the whole language thing is kind of weird because English, as I'm sure anyone who's over the age of 18 knows, is the language of business. So many people know that, even if it's only as a second language. So
Yeah.
pretty nice for English speakers that 90% of the world speaks it. But
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot of areas, at least I know in the U.S., like in the South. Uh, where Spanish is pretty much a second language to everybody.
Oh yeah.
I know Cali. Most people from SoCal speak at least a little bit of Spanish.
Mhm.
When you go to Vegas, you'll see a lot of Mexicans there, illegal or legal, whatever. They're all over the place. So uh, all sorts of different cultures. But
Yeah.
it's usually the French players. Then, whenever you do speak with the or interact with the European players, it's usually the French.
Yeah, I'd say so. There aren't they seem to have like the most, well, as far as I'm aware, they have the most I guess out there community site, I guess.
Mm.
So that one's like the most easy to access if I do ever talk to them. It's been a while really, but more at the end of SC4 when hype was building up for NEC and whatnot. A lot of our players were jumping in and out of the different chat rooms, so that was always fun.
Gotcha. Let's see. Think of some other questions here. Oh, you mentioned online.
Yep.
So you said that you play a lot with like the big name players online.
Hmm.
So I've kind of asked this question pretty much every guest I've had on. So not just your opinion of online, but I mean, do you see it as a legitimate training tool? It sounds like you use it as a
Hmm.
legitimate training tool since you're playing a lot of those big name players.
Yeah.
So I guess once again, kind of name drop for us a little bit and kind of give me your overall feel and opinion of online and how it's like affected your game.
All right. Well, I'll start off by saying that because I'm not in Toronto, I don't get to play offline regularly, and the players that are here are either busy or I can't reach them because of work and scheduling stuff. So online really is my only option most of the time. So with that out of the way, people I play, I'm like every day I play with Ramon. Heaton I mentioned we were always playing more or less. Today was a day when we played about 15 matches and only one of them finished because the rest of them disconnected, and then we gave up. But besides them, Zeph, a player you might be familiar with. He's a West Coast guy.
Mhm.
Been making a name for himself lately. RTD I play with quite a bit. Lolo. Um, some of the Chicago guys. Who else? I'm probably forgetting somebody I always play with. They're gonna get super pissed at me. But
Especially if they have a winning record against you.
oh
Like,
yeah.
oh, surprise! You don't mention me because I roll you 6-0 every time we play.
Yeah. Some of the locals, of course, I'm playing with from time to time. Let's see. Swear I'm missing somebody. Whatever. I'll just
Whoever it is,
I'll
they don't
write it
know.
out. I'll send them an apology letter.
You can always do like a postscript once I put
Yeah.
this up and put it in there. It's like, oh, that guy I forgot. It's this person. He still really doesn't matter, but just so everyone knows, here he is.
They're dear to my heart, but yeah, I just couldn't come up with it in time.
It's interesting that you mention that you don't play offline nearly as much as you do online, and a lot of that has to do with where you are. But it kind of, at least to me, it's really interesting to hear that because the scene and has changed a little bit over from at least when I started. I don't even know if there when I started playing, I don't even know if there was any internet option for fighters at all. And I don't think
Yeah,
there was.
that was
And
way before my time, so I'm gonna assume that didn't
yeah,
exist.
and if there was, it was something that was modded, and then someone would use a PC or something like that. That
Yeah.
would be the only thing that I could think of.
Yeah.
So it was all people who were playing offline, and the ones who didn't play anyone else very often, you can only look at them as prodigies. It's like, oh my god, you play an hour against an actual person on average a month, and you're this good. But I mean, the whole culture has changed now because online
Yeah.
isn't complete ass
Mhm.
anymore. So players like yourself can actually get on, play some of the best players in the world, and learn and get better, and then
Yeah.
go to tournaments and win. So we've come a long way. I'll tell you that much. It's it still blows my mind, that online is actually becoming a viable option.
Mhm.
Still have some ways to go, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
still
definitely
something.
working out the kinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess give us kind of your pros and cons of online, since it's an awfully big topic. Like what do you like about online? How is it helping you? But what don't you like about it? And what sorts of things is it maybe messing up your game a little bit?
Okay. Well, I'll start with the good stuff. Um, well, first off, the best thing coming from 4's netcode to 5 is that it's actually playable.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a good thing. Most reactable stuff they've made it so that you can actually input it in time. So like your slow lows aren't landing on you for days like they did in Soul Calibur 4. So it's actually you have that whole layer of garbage that people relied on in Soul Calibur 4 online is just gone, and you can actually have like a almost um like as close as you can get really to an offline match. So that alone just makes it a good viable practice tool. So there's that. The fact that you can play pretty much anyone from anywhere whenever you want is obviously a plus. You get a chance to come across different, like completely different styles, see some tech that you would never even think of really, and you just get to just like the scope of the game really increases when you play a whole bunch of different people. So it's always interesting in that regard.
All right, and what about the cons? What sorts of things
Okay,
do you
the
think
cons.
they could get
Well,
better?
I'll start with my favorite thing, the disconnects on PSN. On Xbox Live, I really haven't had much of an issue. It just seems the connection won't, like, the match won't really stop. The connection might drop a little bit, so there might be a lag increase for a round or something. But on PSN, if it does that, if the connection like changes at all throughout the match, it'll just disconnect. And Canadian internet isn't that great to begin with, so more often than not, I'm disconnecting more than I'm playing. So if they could, if they could improve on that somehow, or if my ISP could step it up, that would be great.
I was gonna say, I think that's a call out to your ISP to
Yeah.
stop
If
sucking.
there's a Bell representative out there who plays Soul Calibur and is listening to this, you got to introduce some fiber optics in London. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I have our infrastructure, at least where I am, is good, but they're really retarded about having quote unquote maintenance in the middle of the night. So
Yeah.
like, and I'm a night owl, so I'm up really late every time. I usually don't go to bed until sometime between 2 and 4 because I work second shift. So like, it always goes down when I need it the most, and that's kind of dumb. But
Yeah.
anyway,
It's
so we got the PSN garbage and
disconnect. Yeah.
infrastructure. So and
um.
anything else, and not just necessarily connection issues, but like anything
Yeah.
else you think they could improve on?
Well, as far as like technical stuff, that's really like my only issue. Um, I think yeah, like if they could improve the netcode and just make like disconnects not happen as much, if there's any way to fix it, that would be it basically be perfect for me.
Mm.
Aside from that though, it's basically like the way I approach the game and like the way I think about it kind of gets skewed at times in lag if there is like a larger amount. So there's like that tiny bit of like it's very hard to explain, but there's like a tiny bit of lag that isn't there offline that makes a huge difference for me. And like it just bothers me. And it's just a pet peeve really. It's no big deal. It's just something I should probably just get over.
Uh,
But yeah, there's I just think it's the like the tiniest little difference between offline is that like minuscule uh difference in time, I guess.
so here's an interesting question for you, and I'm curious to see how you answer this. Do you think do you watch a lot of baseball?
Uh no, not at all.
Okay, do you know anything about baseball?
A little bit.
Okay, so
We'll see.
when you have somebody in the batter's box, or not the batter's box, but the on deck circle, and they're swinging, doing the practice swings with the baseball bat, and they
Yeah.
have the weights on there, right? And
Mhm.
then before they go to the batter's box, they take the weights off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I'm following you
Sort
so
of,
far.
okay. Well, they usually do that, to warm up their muscles, and then the bat is lighter, so they can swing it faster when they actually get up to the batter's box. Do you think online kind of has that approach, where that little itty bit of lag is making you work just a little bit harder, so when you actually do play online matches, you're reacting faster?
I do think that is a factor, definitely. Like while I do mention that it does kind of take away from the offline matches, it does also kind of prepare you a little bit more just to be ready a tiny bit faster for those things that you might not be looking out for normally. So I did like I noticed when I went to Torican when I was warming up, like my just guarding was way off from playing online a lot. I think mostly it was a difference in TV, but as the weekend went on, it seemed to get better. So it was really weird because I don't really practice it. I just kind of things on reaction. It's like, okay, this move's slow enough. You can just guard it, so I do it.
Gotcha.
But yeah. So like I was picking up on small just guard things that I normally wouldn't online, just because that tiny window just doesn't allow for it for me, anyways. So yeah, I do think it does help in that sense a little bit, which is kind of cool actually.
Gotcha. So since you play a lot of online, did you enter the MLG online thing?
Um, funny thing about that actually is um, I don't even know if I should mention this, but I think I'm going to anyways because it's pretty funny. The tournament wasn't allowed for Canadian players,
Oh yes,
but
I do remember. Wow, I can't
yeah,
believe I forgot about that. Uh,
but
but
I did manage to get in there, and if you look at the leaderboards, you
uh,
might see a guy named Not Partisan, and he may or may not be in third place right now.
uh, very nice. That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, I think I could just leave it at that and leave the rest up for investigation.
Oh yeah, I have a feeling no one from MLG is going to look into that, and if they do, they're going to send it to some forum community, and then they're going to ban everybody but you, and it's going to be weird. So 'cause
That'd be the ideal situation.
because that's what they like to do. They like to make arbitrary decisions for no real reason. Oh, that's funny. So are there any, out of curiosity, are there any other like online tournaments that maybe are going on that no one else knows about, or do you usually just use it as a practice tool and no tournament stuff?
There are a few community-driven ones. Not too many like ones that are paid, as far as I'm like that I know about. I think there might have been one in like in the European regions. I think they had one a while back. I don't know if it actually counted for anything or if it was just for the sake of competition.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think there's two going on right now on the forums. If you go to like the online forums, there's two of them. There's actually three. There's a Swiss format, which I don't know how to explain. You might, but there's
Yeah, I do. I come from the chess background, so
okay.
I know.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's a normal double elimination one. So there's those, and then there was another one which I haven't really looked into because like I work full time, so I don't really have a lot of free time to enter all of these. So I only picked one this time around. But yeah, there are a few of them out there, and I think it's really a neat way to get people who can't really make it out to tournaments sometimes to kind of get their name out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of do you happen, since you play more online, you may know this. For when you're in a room and you
Mhm.
have three people, or I should say any over two, any more than two
Yeah.
people, do the extra players, do they affect the latency of the two players who are playing?
As far as I know, it doesn't, because
Okay.
I think it's basically the connection is just based on the two players playing.
Okay.
I don't think anything else really affects that, so that's good.
See, that's what I thought, but then I was a little curious. For like the MLG thing, for instance, why somebody would watch matches, like because you're
Yeah.
supposed to, it's supposed to be the honor system, so to speak, and you're supposed to
Yep.
record, your own matches. But I mean, there's so many disputes, it's
Yeah.
it's retarded. So I'm a little curious why nobody just watches those. But oh well,
Yeah.
I'm
It'd
dead.
probably be easier for that, but
Yeah, and
yeah. Coming from a yeah, coming from a I used to play shooters a lot, like console shooters.
mhm.
uh, Before I played Soul Calibur. I was a little bit involved in game battles, so when I saw this tournament, I was like, "Oh right, I remember the good old dispute." So I made sure to record all the matches just in case. because
Man, that is such a
it's always funny when that kind of stuff happens. Not too much on my end. I think, well, actually none at all, really. No disputes or anything, which is always nice.
yeah.
That I've seen for me. I know of some that have gone on, but yeah.
Yeah, I already know. Well, I should give a shout out to Mick. He got a free loss from me because MLG decided to do that, even though we didn't play at all. But they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, you were playing Mick. Well, you would have lost anyway, so it's okay." I don't really get it. But, it's funny. You mentioned the Swiss system. For those who aren't aware, pretty much everyone knows what a round robin is. Swiss system, essentially, for those who aren't familiar with it. It works on a point system, so a win gets you 1 point, loss gets you 0, and then I would have to imagine that in a fighter, they'd probably go by match points to pair people up with. But let's presume that one set is a point. So if you win, you get 1 point. You lose, you get 0. So after it would go, you'd usually play like 6 or 7 rounds, and then people with the same points would play each other, and then the goal
that sounds about right.
Yeah, the goal is to whittle everyone down so that you have like maybe 4 people who are undefeated in the last round or something like that.
Yeah,
go from there. I think it's a really good system just because you have your set number of rounds, and no matter what, everyone plays that number of games. Even if you lose every single one, it doesn't matter. You'll play that many games. So I think
it's always nice. Yeah,
it's obviously a lot easier to do online than it is offline, but
yeah,
when you're throwing 10 tournaments, it gets to be a little chaotic. But
yeah, for sure.
It's always something. Okay, let's see. So we talked offline, we talked online. See any other questions I can think of. Just because I kind of mentioned it in passing, any comments on the most recent tournament that we had just this weekend, UFGT? I believe, with the exception of ATL final round, that I think it's the 3rd biggest major because their attendance, I think, was a little over 400. It was 400 something,
okay.
I believe.
Wow.
So it was a really, really big tournament. Great venue. I mean, they run a really smooth tournament. But anything that I don't know you want to say about that, or maybe any other major that's kind of popping in your head or anything like that?
Let me think. Well, I did catch a lot of the stream. I think I got most of the Soul Calibur stuff, which is good. I didn't. The stream actually cut out in grand final, so I didn't actually get to see. I think the last match. I hear Lost Providence won.
He did, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I figured that happened. Shoutouts to him, really solid player. Shoutouts to Mateo also, or Mateo. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
It's Mateo.
But yeah, that's what everybody else was doing. So I figured, yeah, that should be it. Yeah. So shout out to those guys. Really solid play I saw there on the stream. So that was good. Dive kick. What was that all about?
It's just a really stupid game. You just said you have 2 buttons. You have a jump and a kick, and it's 1-hit kill. And you can't block. You can't do it. You just jump. You jump and kick. It was I did not play it. I saw a bunch of people playing it. They did have a tournament for it. And there were, based on what I was hearing, there were some really hype matches. But I can only imagine when everything is a 1-hit kill and you don't have a whole lot of defensive options that it gets pretty crazy. So it was silly. That's the only thing that I can say about it. Is ridiculous. I did not enter it, so I was not about to throw away my money, but fun, it's fun things. It is what it is. But for those who haven't been out to UFGT, much like Final Round or Evo or any of those other big events, it's definitely worth it. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on, free prizes and stuff just for or drawings, I should say, just for going and showing up.
Good old raffles.
Yeah. So I actually I left before they did the drawings today, but so I don't know if I won anything. But I won last year, and I actually got a stick bag. So I mean,
nice.
you figure, it's $30-$40 for me. So I ended up giving it to somebody because I don't play arcade stick, but whatever. Nice. It is what it is.
It's better than not winning, right?
Yeah, exactly. I get to bestow, something upon.
To share the wealth.
Exactly. Great. So, okay. Yeah. You already gave out the shout outs to the 2 people at UFGT. Oh man, I'm running out of questions here. So I guess we'll just kind of wrap it up then. We touched on pretty much everything that I can think of. One thing I did want to ask, because I've gotten a little bit of flack for this because I don't do this as much. We talked online,
Yeah.
but people are interested in how exactly you approach the game and like how you practice. So if there's you don't have to go into too specifics, but if there's like some certain things that maybe you do in your practice schedule that maybe other people don't do, or something that you think is really important that newer players picking it up should maybe stress on. I'm just going to kind of throw out that platform there, and whatever you want to say about your practice regimen, I'm sure would be appreciated by anybody
All right. Yeah.
who pick it up.
Yeah. Usually, when I do play, like I come home from work, I'll usually just turn on my PS3. Whether or not I actually do anything with it is up for debate. But if I'm not playing online, personally I find just playing the game against competent people. There's no better way to get better than that. But besides that, when you're in training, I find going over like certain scenarios or certain moves, setups, whatever that give you trouble in matches, finding ways to break those down, and basically just finding options that like cover those things. It's a good way to. That's how I use training mode a lot, and I'd recommend it to really anybody who's having trouble with a certain thing. Just go in there, set up the move, go through your character's move list to figure out what you can do to deal with it. See if there's like just guard, guard impact, whatever, or character specific stuff. Just find ways to beat it. Just it's a good way to get over certain character ignorance. Like you can play all the time, but if you're not getting anything out of that by just trying new stuff in a match, just you can always use training for that. And that's basically what I do. If I'm getting blown up by a certain setup, I immediately just go hit the lab, and then I'm finding solutions for it, and then I'll go back and try it in a match. And then if that doesn't work, go back, and then it's just an endless cycle, really.
So, any advice for any of the Patroclus, the regular Patroclus players out there that are trying to pick her, or Omega? But I know probably more people are interested in regular P, since he you don't see nearly as many of him out there as you do Omega.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen way more Omega than I have
Wow,
regular
that's
P.
it's yeah, it's
Although
really opposite
I
for
guess
me.
people tend to play regular Pyrrha more than they do Omega.
Yeah, definitely. Um, well, for Pat players, Pat, not Pad this time.
Yeah,
um,
Pat.
um, yeah. From what I see, a lot of people seem to be sticking with a lot of the basics with him, which isn't a bad idea at all. But definitely go through his move list. Look at the different options because he has a way more than just 6xp and 1k. They're like, while it does work, it's way more interesting to watch when you do more moves. And honestly, he is a way better character when you use all of these different options. It literally makes a huge difference. And aside from me, my Patroclus is, I'd say, probably pretty above average. But definitely check out Kira from Korea. If you're looking for great matches, definitely check him out. His Patroclus is like amazing, really. It's probably the best in the world right now. So definitely check out him. And yeah, just go over the tools. The character has a lot of interesting stuff and way more than you'd probably imagine. So
Nice.
that's probably it for Patroclus. For the one Omega Pyrrha player besides myself out there, um, yeah, she's a very kind of a niche character, but kind of challenging as well. Like her punishment game is obviously her focus, but she has a very different offensive game in that it doesn't really revolve around your traditional like mix up kind of thing. It's just kind of block situations you're at advantage. What are they going to do? What are you going to do to counter what they're trying to do? And it's really fun for me. I don't know if it would be for everybody else, but yeah, more people should definitely play the character. I think she's being overlooked
Gotcha. Do you think she's better than regular Pyrrha?
right now. So I do. She does have some things better. I do think they're about equal. I think time will tell whether or not which one is up there or not. Right now, I think Pyrrha just like her basics are much better. I find like her 1K is faster. She has a better mix-up game. I'd find her movement seems to complement her move list a little bit better. But Omega has like the heavier damage, and I think in the future, having really strong Just Guard with that character is
Gotcha.
is gonna make or break the
Excellent.
character
Good.
really. So
Good. Great advice, I guess, since
yeah.
you just won a major with probably the stuff you just said. Uh, definitely take that to the bank. Anybody who's listening. Well, that's pretty much it that I have for the questions. So at the very end of our podcast, I'm trying to make this like a regular thing. I can't remember if I think I might have missed this last one, which is embarrassing. So I want to make sure I don't miss it this time. So I wanted to like devote a little segment, like a little salty segment, and I want to know what makes you mad, what pisses you off, and I'm gonna give you your little soapbox, and whatever makes you so mad that you would throw a chair into a wall and knock over some waters like that's what I want. I want to hear that, and I want you to let the world and the rest of the Soul Calibur know what makes you angry. So I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. Go.
Okay, let me see.
Oh, that's good. That's good
because I can be a pretty angry person.
There's so many people who are like, "Oh man, I'm kind of nice."
That should be.
I don't like to. So yeah, no, I don't like that. I want anger.
Yeah, I think I'll stick to some gameplay stuff here and stuff regarding this, just Soul Calibur 5 in general. A lot of people may or may not know this. I think people who are in chat a lot will definitely know it. Turtling against me really bothers me. If you were if you're spacing me all day, nothing frustrates me more in this game. So that'll be item number 1. Number 2, I'd probably say disconnects in online. Just they set me off. Probably the most actually. That's probably the most frustrating thing for me because I don't get to play that much, and I can't really play people offline that often. So when I'm sitting there in a lobby for about 3 hours and get 2 games in because the rest of them disconnect, that's
a little disappointing.
Not the happiest experience. Yeah, a little bit, right? So yeah, we got that. We got some.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be
stuff.
Calibur. If there's something out there that maybe somebody cut you off in traffic earlier today, and you ran them down, and
I'm not a driver. That would be good material. Yeah,
if that's all you got, that's cool too.
Okay. I do have something. I think I do because I don't drive. I do have to take the bus a lot in London, and that is the only the only part of the transit. So it is usually rather busy in the times that I use it. Loud, obnoxious people on the bus. That is probably one of the more
annoying.
I don't even know how to put it. Just disappointing, annoying, horrible things. Like tragedy.
A tragedy.
Just all sorts of bad stuff. It's just.
Do you have do quite a lot of people ride the bus or take the bus in London?
Well, in my city, we're not big enough for a subway or anything, so it's our only really the only thing in the transit, right? And aside from that, we don't have that many buses overall. So when the one bus comes per 30 minutes, it's usually pretty packed. So we have those people who are blaring their music, swinging on the handles or whatever.
Yeah.
People talking to themselves, all that fun stuff.
We have quite a bit of buses, but nobody ever uses them. So it's only like creepy people and old people that use the buses. But they're usually pretty low volume because there's just so many of them. Why we have so many buses, I don't know. No one ever uses them, but there's always creepers on there whenever you get on. So
yeah, just transit in general seems to bring out
it's because they're broke.
The people you just don't want to deal with.
They got no money
on a normal basis.
Oh, that's funny.
Just taking that bus.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
that's all I
yeah.
got. So kind of to wrap up, for kind of I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast. Since UFG2 is this weekend, expect Lost Providence on. I still have to get Ryujin on at some point. The SummerSlam winner will be getting the Northwest. Whoever wins Northwest will try to get that
Nice.
person on. MLG Anaheim, whoever wins that, we'll try to reach out to them. Then we got CEO. What's the other one I'm missing? ECT. And then, of course, Evo is in July. So very, very, very busy over the next month or so. Yeah, so it'll be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So with
Next few
that, I
weeks.
want to
Yeah.
thank you for coming on and kind of giving us some info about Torukin, a little bit about the Canadian scene and whatnot. Trying to think if I have any other shout outs that I should not be forgetting. We talked about from 8-Way Run, the interview time. That's excellent. We got the Armory still going, which so many people have been. I actually talked to Bibulus and a couple other people about it. UFGT. Everyone's loving the Armory. I mean, it's so nice. Yeah, it's so nice to just go into one thread.
It's good to
and
know.
everything
Yeah.
new that's come out. Spiders on top of it. So excellent news for that. That's all I can think of for now. So, any last shout outs or anything like that you want to throw out there before we call it a day?
Yeah, I'll say a few things. Shout outs to the Toronto scene. Obviously, you guys are great. Thanks for housing me every time I come down there. It can probably be a pain at times, but
you're a good guest, right?
I'm sure it's not that bad. But yeah, so yeah, I try to be. Yeah, I don't know how it seems on their end sometimes, but yeah. So big shout outs to those guys. I'll shout out to my online buddies, Ramon, Zeph, Heaton. I play them almost on a daily basis, more or less. Whether or not it's actually playing or disconnecting is up for debate.
You
but
get at least a couple seconds of
the
practice.
thought is what counts.
One mix up. Yep, guess one.
Yeah, that's always helpful.
Yeah.
There you go. 2K connection lost. There you go. It's an accurate representation of an offline match, so it's good. Shout outs to Spider, obviously. We both kind of put together the Armory idea, but he's been running with it since, so shout outs to him. Great job with it.
Yeah, go for it, absolutely.
If you don't mind, I'd like to make a little plug, actually. I've recently started I started a thread. It has gotten one response that wasn't actually a post, but so I'm kind of disappointed about that, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm starting a new series within the target practice name. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. It's the little segments. I did one on like anti-strings with Patroclus, and I did one about the ring out throws. So I don't know if you saw them, but that's the kind of stuff. It covers like anti-character knowledge and all that good stuff in Soul Calibur 5. So I'm going to be starting a new series, which is basically a Q&A. So basically, I want people to PM me, post in the thread, any of your problems in this game. Like, how do I deal with Nightmare who only does A plus B and GIs all my moves? If you want questions like that or ones that actually make sense, yeah, post in that thread. I'd love to help people out, and I really want to use all of this expensive video equipment to make something that's actually doable in my in my free time. So please post there and help me help you. That's what I said there, and I'll say it here. So
yep, I
can probably give you the link.
I was actually just going to say that if you shoot me a link,
that'd be
we'll
great.
make sure that we get that up once this video goes up. So yeah, so that people can check that out. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of those kinds of threads and whatnot. I know, even though he's not like a huge caliber player, for those who have seen him, like Noodle is the guy. I mean, he's a scientist. That's what he does. So he's like breaking down frame data and shit. Like, oh yeah, do you know that Just Guard has this, and this frames, and you can do this and this? And you're like, dude, I don't need to know that. But he's really good. So all of those technical stuff and those situational stuff, I mean, that's what you need to get better at the game. So definitely an excellent plug, and we will make sure that we get that thread out to everybody. Anything else aside from that plug?
Awesome. Anything else? Let me see. Yeah, why not? I'll shout out to the London guys. I don't think not many of them really play Caliber, but they're a scene regardless, and we're trying to grow, get more players. So shout out to them. If you're in London and listening to this, I would love to play some offline matches. I'm not a creep. I'm a pretty normal guy. I'm yeah. So if there's a thread for London, check it out. Um, I'd love to start growing a Soul Calibur community here. We definitely could definitely be something big. I'm a pretty knowledgeable player, so I can help you learn the game too. So please somehow
Nice.
get in
Excellent.
contact
Yeah,
with me, and
I'm
we'll make
from
something
a
happen.
little rinky-dink community as well, so I know how much that can suck. So yeah, for
Yeah,
anybody out there near London,
yeah,
hit up Partisan over here. All right. Well, that was a good podcast. We hit a lot of topics. I got a lot of shout outs there. So once again, thank you for coming on to the show. Best of luck at Evo. And you did say that you registered for MAT. So anyone who's going
thank
there,
you.
if you want to hit him up, that'll be your chance. Or if any of you are going to Evo, you can, I'm sure, get a little bit of FaceTime in and do that whole thing. If you're not out, gambling or
Yeah,
boozing the whole time like I usually do. But
yeah, I'm a little underage for that in the states, so that's a
it
shame.
you
Drinking age
used
and
to,
whatnot here is 19. I'm a little
which
short of
is such a shame.
the age in the
It
states.
used to
So
be that young here in the States, but that was before I was born.
yes.
So can't can't do that. Yeah, I
Oh well,
guess that, or I
there's
guess
more
if you're going to
incentive to
Evo
go
and
in
you're
the future.
underage, just
So
find somebody, crash with somebody who's over 21 who can buy you booze. Sorry, no, I didn't mean that. That was a joke. Did no one take that
yeah,
seriously? Yeah, I don't want to be held liable for
don't
anybody's
do
bad
that.
decisions.
Don't do that.
So, all right. Well, again, thanks for coming on. Look forward to catching you at Evo, along with
My
all the
pleasure.
other recent major qualifiers. There's going to be a lot of people out at Evo. It's going to be super hype. And once again, expect the
Oh yeah.
SoulCast to have quite a few episodes here in the next coming weeks. We'll probably double up on some just to try to catch up with some of the ones that we've missed. So expect lots of stuff to come out. Other than that, that is all we have, kids. We hope that you enjoyed yourself while listening to this, and we hope you catch us next time. Have a good one.